Hey folks, it's Sam. And as you see, I'm here with Dr. Malini Iyer. And we're going to be talking about the compatibility of Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Of course, they're very much in the news these days with the slap and all this. We're not going to be getting into the sort of drama, this kind of stuff. We're going to be obviously hitting on some of the stuff that we know and that we've seen, but it's going to be a pretty clinical examination of their relationship. They've been together a long time. You can see the compatibility. You can see what's attracting them, where the struggles come in and whatnot. And it'll be a lot of fun. And I'm very happy to have Dr. Malini here. Welcome, Malini. How are you doing today? Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for having me over to do this. I've followed these two for a really long time, and relationships is one of my passions. So I'm excited to jump in here with you and do this together. Thank
Great.
you.
By the way, the audio sounds a lot better. So whatever happened, it sounds great. The audio sounds great. And Malini was she responded to my late night, "Hey, you want to do this tomorrow?"
Yep.
Which I'm known to do. Malini will usually just jump right on and say, "Yeah, let's do it," especially because I know she's very interested in relationships and does a lot of great relationship work. Look her up also, you'll see, and you'll hear her expertise here as we go through this. So it'll be a lot of fun. And we're going to go through the classic, what I call 3D relationship astrology, which is, it's not like, well, it's an approach that I developed, but it uses the classical Indian Kuta system. It also uses Western, what we call like Western Synastry, but it also analyzes the individuals first and their capacity and their nature in relationships. So of course, we're going to see all this here because these guys have been together a long time and there's something to be said for that and whatnot. So before I jump into that, I want to just do a couple announcements here. First, of course, please like and share and subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy this kind of thing. Leave some good comments and whatnot. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or wherever you're watching it, please, again, share that with others. And also, I just dropped a link. I have been letting people know about the free web class. The nodes just changed. Rahu is in Aries and Ketu is in Libra for the next 18 months. And based on whichever sign you have, your ascending sign, it's going to be a different thing for you. Very comprehensive, in-depth case study of this transit. And it's free. You can just go to that link that is there in the comments. And you also see it here at the bottom of this slide that says nodalshift2022.com. So avail yourself of that as well. So Malini, let's just jump right in here and I'll let you just start. Just sort of giving an overview here. We'll each kind of go back and forth. This hasn't been rehearsed. We didn't talk about how we're going to do it, but I just put together some slides. And, Malini, just have her, give an overview of these two charts first, just as their sort of capacities. And then I'll jump in here as well. And we'll just kind of sort of, massage it back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, I think, Sam, we should start at the way we always start relationship compatibilities and just lay out how we go through it, the structure of it. So the 3D system that Sam has coined the name 3D system, it actually first looks at each individual's capacity for relationship. So we'll have to evaluate each person's capacity for relationship, in this case, Will Smith and Jada Smith. That includes each person's masculine and feminine energies, because in a relationship, you come to experience the masculine and feminine sides of each person. So that's what we are going to do. Then the second thing that we look in the 3D relationship model is the synastry. So you overlay both charts and then you see what acts as the glue in the relationship for long-term relationship success, and then what are the buttons that get pushed, right? That becomes a learning lesson for both parties involved, and that's why it's not always easy. So what glue holds the relationship together and what are the buttons that get pushed is what we see in the synastry. And the third thing that we generally look is at the Kuta system, which is based on the moon nakshatras of both parties involved. and how compatible the moon nakshatras are with each other. And it's a total of 36. If you're using Ashtakutas, which are 8 Kuta points, versus Dasha Kuta, which is 10 Kuta points, we have done 8 here. So out of in the 8 scoring system totals up to 36 points. And loosely people say for a successful relationship you need to meet out of those 36 at least 18. And we can go into the details of what each of these points are. But it's not uh, a one system. It's you have to bring all 3 steps together to really evaluate a relationship. And I'm
Right.
grateful for Sam for teaching it this way, because sometimes the Kuta scores are not strong for 2 people, but they do really well with each other based on each person's capacity for relationships and the flow of masculine feminine energies and the synastry, right? Based on that, if people are doing really well, then if the moon nakshatras don't match that well, the other factors come into play to help the relationship through. So
Yeah. So that's a great overview, Malini. Yeah. And so this is the way, because we first start with the capacity, because this is the reason this is the most important thing, is because your relationship, that all your relationships are going to have a similar quality because you're the one having them. So again, this is very much in many ways the most important part. We're going to focus on that, but we're also going to then look at, because, Will Smith is going to bring this quality of his relationship into every partnership, every romantic relationship, every business agreement. We have a relationship with other people, right? And then the romantic relationship is a more concentrated version of it. But then we can see our individual relationship with other individuals based on the synastry, which is when you lay one chart on top of another. And by the way, this is one of the main reasons to use the South Indian chart as well. One of the main reasons I use the South Indian chart is because it's a sign chart. It's not a house chart. So if you're using North Indian, none of this makes any sense. So the South Indian chart, the signs are on top of each other. So the planets are one person's planet on another person's planet is shown here. And that's called synastry. These are buttons that get pushed, very active. Like you see, if you look in the box of Leo, they both have a lot of Leo energy. She's got Moon Mercury, he's got Mars Jupiter. That's a lot of synastry and a lot of Leo energy going on. So the synastry is like the glue and the buttons that get pushed that keeps us kind of coming back. Might be positive, might be, quote, negative, but it's going to be a strong access point. It's like a button. Like I can push that button, right? So, and then the last one is, of course, the Kuta matching, as Dr. Malini said, which is where you now look at each of the, you can actually look at all the planets, but especially the moon is focused on, because it's the psychological temperament and the psychology and the emotional bond between the two people, evaluated along several different criteria. So we'll first start with each of their capacities, and because we got a lot to go through, again, we don't have time to hang out for like a half hour on each one. So we're going to do an overview of each one here relatively quickly. We can really sum it up pretty quickly with masculine, feminine, and general chart characteristics here. So Malini, you want to do Will and Jada, and then I'll jump in and add a few things just of like the masculine, feminine capacities, the different things here.
yeah, so off the bat, if you look at Will Smith's chart, he's a Taurus rising. And so Taurus rising, if just to orient everybody who has no background in astrology, the rising sign is the self. So when I'm saying somebody's a Taurus rising, their orientation to the world is the way Taurus looks at the world. And the sign that is the opposite from Taurus, that Scorpio, is the partner. So the 7th house, or the opposite, especially equal relationships, is shown by Scorpio in Will Smith's chart. So just off the bat, being a Taurus rising, um, Taurus rising people love longevity, they love stability, they strive for that. But then the complete opposite of that is Scorpio, which is very probing. They both are fixed signs. Taurus is a fixed sign, it's fixed earth, so it moves slow. It likes things that are long, so it's really good for long marriages. They themselves are oriented that way. But the partners they attract in life have a Scorpio kind of nature, which is they will constantly probe, right? They will push Taurus people, that is fixed earth, to change and transform, because that's the least integrated aspect of themselves. It's the seventh house, it's the furthest away from themselves, so it will push them to transform. But both are fixed in their own ways, right? Just based on Will Smith's chart, if you look at masculine planets, which are Mars, Jupiter, Sun, we look at the health of masculine planets, right? So Mars and Jupiter, both masculine planets, are in a masculine sign of Leo. So they're doing well, they are pretty healthy. Sun is in a feminine sign. It's joined Ketu, but he has a good masculine energy. His feminine planets, which are Venus and Moon, are also in a masculine sign. So he's like really, really masculine. Mercury and Saturn don't have gender, so they tend to, especially they tend to disperse or create confusion with gender. So is Rahu and Ketu. They tend to amplify or confuse the gender again. So if you just look at Will Smith's chart, really healthy masculine. He's showing up as a masculine in the relationship. When you go to Jada Smith's chart, she is his opposite. She's a Scorpio rising. Now, this is, if you start with, I'm jumping a little bit ahead. If you start to look at Synastry, they both are opposite each other. So, and Sam has a famous saying, you get the relationship you get for a particular reason, right? So they are pretty opposite of each other. She's very emotionally probing. As a Scorpio rising, she loves to dig deep. If you think about Scorpio, I tend to ask people to think about like the deep oceans, right? It's a very psychological sign. It's very probing, sometimes unnecessary probing, right? You're always emotionally probing, and it's like a wound, and you just keep digging through that wound for no reason. And then Will Smith is the opposite of her, or her seventh house is Taurus. And she's learning how to be stable, how to create a worldly life, a materialistic life that is stable, that has, you know, Taurus like things, has a home, has enough money. There is just stability in life, right? On the exterior, not just on a psychological level, but on the exterior, things are stable. And that's what she's learning. So she brings that probing nature, but she's learning learning to be stable in the world. He's very fixed and stable in the exterior world, and he's learning to be emotionally probing, to dive deep in his own emotional psychological nature. And if you have followed their journey, you can see that. In Jada Smith's chart, let's look at, she's showing up as the feminine. So let's first look at how her feminine planets are doing. So the feminine planets are Moon and Mercury. Moon and Venus. So Moon is in Leo, it's in a masculine sign. And Venus is in Virgo, it's a feminine sign. But Venus also has a tough time in Virgo, right? So she has a tough time feeling that feminine energy. So compared, and if you look at her masculine planets, again, her masculine planets, Mars, Jupiter, and Sun, are all in feminine signs. So she has a little bit of confusion with her masculine and feminine energies, especially one of her feminine planets is in a masculine sign, and all her masculine planets are in feminine sign. So she's trying to learn how to access in the masculine sign in a healthy way, but also to become comfortable in her own feminine nature in all her relationships. Wherever she shows up, this will be an ongoing theme. And when I say, experience her feminine side, which is experience learning to relax in a relationship, learning to let go, learning to receive the goodness in life, right? So she's learning that, and it's a challenge because both her feminine planets are don't have that much support, so to say. Sam, you would like to add?
Yeah, great. Wonderful. Yeah. So, yeah, very well done here. And obviously this is where we really start to sort of look at the capacity, because the man, especially, this is a heterosexual relationship. We don't need to turn everything into, well, now that we have binary and we have other kinds of relationship choices that we don't include masculine and feminine anymore. They're the real polarities. And in gay couples or in people that have mixed gender identities and whatnot, it's still masculine and feminine. So you're still looking at the same thing, and how comfortable someone is with their like leadership and their focus and their confident. Those external things are going to be shown by the masculine planets. The capacity to be receptive and to feel and to nurture is going to be shown by the feminine planets. The thing I will also point out here, and again, it's just in addition to what Malini said here, is that, of course, Will Smith, he has his masculine is very powerful here. Again, Mars, Jupiter, and Leo. Leo's maybe the most masculine sign of all. Mars and Jupiter are there, very confident and very much that sort of fixed fire. But he has a Taurus ascendant, so he's ruled by Venus. So his ascendant is still a feminine ascendant. So you'll often see this with men who have a feminine ascendant in any of the earth or the water signs. In general, their identity is going to be a little bit confused, even though they have those really powerful masculine planets. And you can see with Will Smith, he still really grapples with, he's ruled by Venus and it's Taurus. It's a feminine sign, right? And so that feminine identity, because the ascendant is the identity, he's probably a little bit ill at ease with his identity just because he's Taurus, ruled by Venus, plus all his planets. He's got the biggest stellium, Mercury, Venus, Moon, in Libra as well. So this is all this Venus energy. He's got all this Venus energy, right? Again, his masculine planets are powerful. So you could see him out there obviously being motivated in his career and being confident, even like as an action star and as someone who would be like an archetypal masculine man. But then you see him talk and you see him, and he's on record and, known to be someone who accommodates and who is accommodating, who is friendly, who is nice, wants to make everybody happy. This is very Venus energy. So he runs a lot of Venus energy, even as a more strongly identifying character within himself. He definitely identifies more as that Venus person than as that Mars, Jupiter, and Leo person. Within himself, he feels more like he is the Taurus trying to keep the family together, keep everything going forever. He's like, we're never getting divorced. We're together forever. He says it all the time. Like, no way it's ever breaking up. That's Taurus. That's that long time. I say this all the time about Taurus. It's a long sign, and sometimes they do things for too long. They don't know when to change or when to transform, right? It's one of the things about Taurus. So that's very much there. And with Jada, again, is very interesting. It's opposite. It's also a feminine sign. Scorpio women are very comfortable being in their feminine, just because it's a feminine sign. She's very comfortable with her emotions, even if they're all over the place. It's like, but that's me. But I'm a woman, and women have emotions, and even whatever they are, it's me. So a woman with a feminine, with a water or earth ascendant is going to be comfortable, at least with that part of their nature. And again, as you point out, one of the things, though, is that this Mars is in the feminine sign, but it's in the exalted sign, and it's with Rahu. So Mars is very exalted here. It's very dignified. And they both have really strong Mars. They both have a lot of Leo energy. So this is a big synastry point, which we're going to get to in a minute. But she also has that Jupiter in the first house, again, which is also, it's a masculine planet there too. And it really gives her this desire to want to grow, to want to gain knowledge. She's, in case you don't know, like, she explores a lot of different things. She, like, when I went and just looked at, I don't know anything about these celebrities, to be honest with you. I'm just kind of catching up, but I went and looked at like her Instagram and other things like that. And like when Thich Nhat Hanh died, she was very reverent. She's very much into these spiritual teachings and this probing stuff, like a Scorpio, very interested in investigating things like that. But as was also said, Venus is in a debilitated sign. It's actually debilitated in Virgo because it's where we find fault. This is the problem with Venus in Virgo. It's a feminine sign, so we're reflecting, but then we're just reflecting on what's not right. This is why Venus is debilitated in Virgo. I say it all the time. Venus in Pisces is where we're happy for no reason. Everything makes us happy. Venus in Virgo is nothing makes me happy. It can be like that. That's the archetype of that. And so this is another very strong synastry point between the two. Sun Venus in Virgo, he's got Sun Ketu there. So these signs of Virgo and Leo are big synastry points because they both got a lot of planets there. And we'll get to the synastry next. I'll just run through the synastry real quick, and then we'll bring Malini in while I'm going here. But I'll just read right off of the off of the slide though, because I just put this together. Main themes in Synastry. And now understand, these people have been together, I guess it's getting close to 30 years. I don't know, they've been together a long time. So you shouldn't, just because we're in a moment in time, and this is what I said at the beginning, we're in a moment in time now where people want to be like, oh, Jada's controlling Will, that's why he smacked somebody, or this is that. Get out. We're not talking on that level here. This is a successful couple. They've been together a long time, had a lot of kids. Maybe their success, maybe it should have ended before or something. That's another issue. But we see people that have been together a long time, working through a lot, adding a lot to each other's lives. And we'll see this in the Synastry. So the main themes in Synastry between these two opposite ascendants, which is very attracting. You got a Taurus and a Scorpio. These opposites really attract. Like Malini did so brilliantly. She said, Will Smith is Taurus, so he's here trying to integrate those lessons of Scorpio. That's what the opposite is. We're drawn to that opposite because we're fascinated by it. Jada's Scorpio, she's trying to integrate those Taurus lessons of stable. She sees Will Smith, he's like, hey, we're in it forever. And she's like, she's always ready to cut and run because that's what Scorpio is. And Mr. Taurus is there like, no, we're in it, baby. So again, they're both, that's why the ascendants are such a strong glue, okay? Fixed ascendants, but they're both stubborn yet committed. This is the whole thing around maybe we've been in it too long. This is why I said it. First thing I noticed right away, because I also noticed these quotes where they had a quote where it said, ride or die till the end, bad relationship for life, or something like this. This is one of their famous quotes. Like, okay, but that's fixed ascendants. Taurus and Scorpio both are very fixed, and they don't let go of things easily. Scorpio as well. They'll hang in there for a long time. Taurus definitely will. So it's both a benefit and it can be a detriment. The Jupiter connections, very important. Jupiter to her moon. So his Jupiter is right on her moon. Very close connection here. Her Jupiter is right in his 7th house. Again, Jupiter connections are really powerful. So her Jupiter in the first is right in his 7th house. Never forget, the 7th house from your ascendant is what you're feeling from the other person. Not just their ascendant, but her Jupiter is right in his 7th house. Big connector. And then Sun, Venus, and his Jupiter on her Mercury. So again, his Sun is on her Venus. These are the more positive themes here. And then his Jupiter on her Mercury as well. So his Jupiter is not only on her moon, but on her Mercury. And the Sun is also on Venus here. They also have a Sun-Sun connection, which also leads to good partnerships at times. But then I also put the stressful one here, Sri Dirg, which means this is the principle that shows that the flow of energy should be from the man to the woman, not to the woman to the man. So in this context, the shortest distance should be from the man's moon to the woman's moon. But that's not what's happening here. Her moon in Leo gets to his moon in Libra very quickly. So she's the emotional initiator here. Her moon in Leo gets to his moon in Libra very quickly. It should be, if his moon was in Leo and hers was in Libra, that's the proper masculine feminine flow. That's the current where the energy feels good. It feels good when the woman receives the man's emotional energy. When the man gets the woman's emotional energy too quick, it feels like nagging. It feels like probing. It feels like mommying. So this is a big blemish, This is a tough one. And in the Dasha Kuta scheme, you have points deducted, whereas in the Ashkuta scheme, there's no points assigned, but this is a big blemish. It's called Sri Dirg. Her Saturn is on his ascendant, very close degree. So again, he can also feel really controlled, and she can feel like she's mommying him. She can feel like he's a baby that I need to mommy. This is what Saturn can tend to feel like, and he can feel controlled because that's what Saturn can feel like on our ascendant. Also, his Mars is on her moon Mercury. So his Mars is also on this moon Mercury. So the Jupiter on the moon Mercury is positive. The Mars, not so much. And his Ketu is on her Venus and also Sun. So again, this Ketu connection also. Ketu feels like probing, criticism. Gunk, gunk, gunk. So that's an overview of the Synastry. I'll bring Malini in here. But that's an overview of how you would do it now as you take the two people's charts and you look at their basic nature and their basic capacity, then you lay the two on top of each other and see how they're interacting. Malini?
That was great, Sam. And I was just, whenever I see Synastry in the house of uh, Leo, especially ruled by Sun, I know that both the people are driven by creating legacy, right? So that's a big theme in their life. They have children, they have lots of businesses together. They are really big on social media, and they have all these different shows. They're creating a legacy together. So legacy is a really big theme. Also, if you look at both their charts, they both are really, really ambitious people. So uh, if you look at Jada Smith's chart, she has planets in the 10th and the 11th house, which have to do with work in the world, and 11th house has to do with ambitions. He has Rahu in the 11th. So they both are very, very ambitious. They're very aligned that way. Um, Also, like
Something to say here. I'm sorry, real quick. Let me just jump in here. But this is also where they both have, this is also where oppositions, when you're opposite, everything is opposite. So let's understand this. This sign of Leo shows where Jada is very externally ambitious.
Yeah.
But Will Smith's Leo is the 4th house. So
Yeah.
he's very ambitious about the inner, the family, the this. She's very ambitious about the outer. This is why the opposite, it's not just one sign that's opposite, everything is opposite.
Yeah.
That same sign of Leo, they both have Leo, but for Will Smith, it's his 4th house. For her, it's her 10th house.
Yeah.
So this, like, and you can even see this public, Jada Smith brings like this public thing out that kind of drags Will Smith's like private life into the public. It's like, wow, right? You can see this. So her bringing out and expressing her Leo power, her empowerment through her red table talks. And I've watched some of that. And again, it's very easy to just kind of roll our eyes at it. But I can see where this helps a lot of people. She's a powerful woman, inspiring, and hearing someone who's well-known talk about these things. But it makes him probably just gives him the heebie-jeebies. He's like, you're dragging our whole life out into the public. And I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring up that thing about the opposition is very powerful.
Yeah.
Sorry. And you see the opposite there.
Yeah. Yeah. And if yeah, you're right about that. Everything is opposite, right? So with Will Smith too, like he comes in as a father figure, very protective of his children. He started both his children with Jada, their career really early on with Karate Kid, and he was trying to launch Willow Smith, the youngest of their children, as a singer when she was only like 9 or 10 years old. Like he's very invested in that family home and wants to expand that as big as possible. And yeah, she is, let's take this and reach the whole world. So yeah, definitely. I love that, Sam, that you brought that out.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. Did you have more you want to add to this?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to, let's just jump to the Kutas and then we'll talk about it in, even more generally so we have time. It's good to cover all this and then we can, have a more freewheeling conversation. But then we take the Synastry and then we match the Kutas. Now, these are based on several different criteria. Varna means caste, Vaishya means sort of devoted to another, Tara means the star, Yoni is a sexual compatibility, Graha Maitra means planetary friendliness, Gana means it's a temperament, Bhava Kuta, and then Nadi Kuta is the elements. So they wind up getting 18.5 points here in this nakshatra-based Kuta matching. And what it does is it matches the nakshatras of the man and the woman. Again, Jada has the moon in Purva Falguni, and Will Smith has his in Vishaka. So you literally match all of these different aspects of the planets. Like, for example, they don't have the they don't have the Graha Maitri because that means the rulers of the two planets are unfriendly. The sun is unfriendly with Venus, so they don't get Graha Maitri. Gana, the temperament, I think he is, I know he's a Rakshasha because I'm Rakshasha and it's Vishaka. And I think hers is Manusha.
Yeah.
So this is a different temperament. So his Rakshasha nature, which is more like an eccentric nature, is upsetting to her Manusha, which is more humanistic and whatnot. So these are just different criteria. And this is not a bad score. Again, anything 18 to 20, you could recommend marriage because there's enough strength here to hang together. Nadi Kuta and Bhava Kuta are two of the most important. They're 8 and 7. If you get those two, you're almost all the way there. Bhavakuta means a friendliness between the signs. There are 311 from each other. So the 3rd and the 11th house is a friendly association. And then the Nadi just means that they're in different elements. The Nadi Kuta means that when they do argue, there's not an imbalance. So with Nadi Kuta, you want it to be different elements. If one has a fiery Nadi, the other one should have a watery or an airy Nadi so that it's not in excess. So this is the final stage where you see a deep connection. But this is also the origin of the thing I talked about earlier, which was that Sri Dirg, which you haven't really talked about very much. But the Sri Dirg has its origin in this Indian energetic model that also looks at things that's the same body of knowledge of like the, you know, of like the Kama Sutra and whatnot, that energy flows properly from the man to the woman. And this is a big reason why they have their battles, is because the energy is flowing from her to him. And so that concept is built into the into this quality of this thing that's called Sri Dirg.
Yeah,
Malini?
Sam, I agree. When you get the Nadi Kuta and the Bhava Kuta, and you get the maximum points, so they go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, in ascending order that way. It shows friendliness. So even in spite of differences, they're able to come to terms instead of, you know, just walk away or chop each other off, right, with words or whatever. So that is really, really important. Again, their case study is a really good example of a reverse Sri Dirga, right? Like Sam said, her energy reaches to him, her moon, which is in Leo, reaches to his moon, 3 signs away in Libra, faster than his to her. But because he has such strong masculine planets, he can handle it. So he can handle that pressure, he can handle feeling nagged. It will, you know, get him off the couch and get him to do stuff, instead of, you know, just leave, right? He would show up because his masculine is really, really strong there. So I think this is a really, really good example. Also, if we you know, go back to the synastry a little bit, I think your synastry also helps because you know, sun, moon, or sun, Venus and moon are the gentle planets, or Saturn, moon, Saturn, Venus. These are the principles you learn in relationship astrology anyway. If you find these connections, especially the man's sun over the woman's Venus, or the man's Saturn over woman's Venus or moon, her feminine planet, so his masculine planets over her feminine planets, there's a strong glue wherein she can feel that he is going to take care of her needs, right? So in spite of the Sri Dirga being reversed, if she pushes him, or if she emotionally gets to a place first, then he is willing to follow along. He, instead of you know, completely freezing, he's willing to evolve. So I think that's a really important concept, wherein the man's masculine planets on the women's feminine signs. Again, his Jupiter is over her moon. It's a masculine planet, Jupiter, and moon is a feminine planet. That is a very close synastry. Also, his Mars is a very masculine planet. Again, Mercury is a gentler planet, much more gentler. Moon is also a gentle planet. So his all masculine planets are over her feminine planet. So in spite of that reverse Sri Dirga, this is a really good case study that this really works for them.
Yeah, very well said. And again, so this is why these principles, what you're doing when you're interpreting is you're just interpreting what is. You're seeing this is a factor, and you're seeing how are they going to handle it? Because people will be like, well, what do you tell someone if they have Sri Dirg? I don't know. I got to see this. I got to see the chart. I got to see who is the man. What's it look like? What else is going on? So with this Sri Dirg, with this short distance being from her to him, again, when we look at it, this is a moon in Leo with Mercury, and he already has Jupiter, Mars on that moon. So right away, she's going to see him as, I don't want to say the boss, like in a negative way, but women want women need to respect the authority of the man for the man's sake and the woman's sake. The women want to respect the authority of the man. They don't want to be able to nag a man into having him getting irritated or into submission. This is what makes it feel like she's mommying him, right? Mm-hmm. Now again, but it's still there. It doesn't mean it doesn't go away. It doesn't mean it's not there. These are the issues in the relationship. We're looking at the fact that this connection, we already know, we're not speculating, has been decades long in their marriage. So we're analyzing something where we already have the answer. We're just looking to learn from it. So they've had this relationship that long. And so we're seeing that this type of stridirg, which is pretty intense, this is a very intense stridirg. It's only 3 signs away. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 signs away. It's not as far. This is very close and very intense, and it's still maintained seemingly a pretty, I mean, look, they've been together that long. They're still all saying all this ride or die stuff, and they're still bonded like this. Now, behind the scenes, we also can know that there's a lot more going on here. I think Will Smith has probably got a lot of frustration and has really built up, and a lot of this Venus, it's okay, I can accommodate everything, accommodating, peacemaking man is starting to boil over on some level, I think. All of this stridirg stuff going on that, and again, the other thing is that big Saturn on his ascendant. This feels strong. This feels like stuck. When Saturn is on someone's ascendant, again, the ascendant is our autonomy. It's our, I'm free to move. Now, again, it's not her fault. No, it's no one's fault here, but it still feels like it. It feels like something's got you and you can't get out of it sometimes. It feels like you're captive to it, not because the other person's doing anything, but because that's the way it is. When someone's got their Saturn on one of your planets, it feels like it's got you, like that thing is stopping you. So, Malini, anything else you'd like to add? I want to get to the last part here, at least where there's some dashas and whatnot that we can look at some of the current stuff that's going on. But anything you'd like to add to what I'm saying here in general?
I'm going to add one last thing here, which is that Saturn over his ascendant. It's a lesson he is meant to learn. If you just look at Will Smith's chart, he has Venus and Moon joined in the same sign, right? And so whenever I see this, I know that the person has difficulties in, even though this is in a Venus sign and he's ruled by Venus, but there is confusion between equal relationships, which is, relationships with adults has an equal give and take, versus Moon is that unconditional love, right? That unconditional feeling. So becoming like the parent in the relationship. And he's constantly recalibrating that. And with his recent book that has come out, he has said that from the time he has seen his mom being hit as a 9-year-old, he felt he has failed every single woman in his life, except his daughter and his grandmom. Like, he has failed every single woman in his life, and he's serving them, or he's showing up as an apology to his mother. So that inability to separate romantic relationship from that parental relationship is always there. Whenever you see Venus Moon mix or they exchange, like Venus is in Cancer, that creates kind of a confusion between overflowing, abundant, unconditional love, and then maintaining that boundaries in relationship, that compromise, and figuring out whether that is. So this is a lesson he's learning, and that's why he has Jada there, because he needs to work this lesson out for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I also wanted to mention, and I saw this before when I looked over, is at first is you can really see, like, when you look in someone's chart, you should be able to see the nature of their partners by their seventh house ruler, Venus, and those karakas. If you look at Will Smith's chart, right? His 7th house ruler is Mars, right? Look at Mars in his chart. It's in Leo with Jupiter. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now look at her chart. She's got Jupiter in the ascendant and Moon in Leo.
Yep.
Like, notice how that 7th house ruler especially is where you can really see it. I think even more than Venus too, but more the 7th house ruler. When you look at her, and her 7th house ruler is Venus, right? And it's a double karaka. Her Venus is in Virgo. It's joined the sun, right? And you look at Will Smith's chart, he's got, first of all, the sun on her Venus, but also Mars, Jupiter, and Leo. So again, all this king sun energy.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really see each other in the other's chart. And by the way, there was a very good comment that was made that we by Ananda Shakti that said sun on sun is a good connection of the soul. That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
I should have probably put that. I kind of overlooked it, but absolutely, when you get the double suns, it definitely shows where there's a strong soul connection, right? Because the sun is that soul nature. And it also shows that people are often good business partners and good supporting each other's goals. And by the way, Western sun sign astrology is based on this. So if you notice, the main thing we're looking at here is the moon, Venus, and relationship factors. One of the reasons why, frankly, I'm just going to say it, Western sun sign astrology doesn't work very well is because it's based on the sun. And when people have good sun sign synastry, it shows they're often good workers. They work together well, those kinds of things, but it's the sun. You're not in, the sun isn't the part of you that's in a relationship. That's why the sun signs aren't necessarily so great. So just keep that in mind as well. I just want to get to this last thing first, and then we can actually talk about it, a little more. But these dashas and transits, especially where we are right now, as you see at the bottom, I said I predict Jada will want a separation in Jupiter, Saturn. We'll get into this why, but again, you can see that he's in Venus, Sun, Jupiter right now. This whole thing that just happened, Venus, Sun, Jupiter in his chart. Again, Venus is his ruling planet. The Sun is activating this 10th house. This is a man who won the Academy Award and disgraced himself within an hour. It's a tragedy. I mean, I feel it's a horrible thing to watch. No one wants to see this man suffer. He's been a interesting, enjoyable celebrity. I mean, I don't really know anything about these celebrities, but I've never had anything against thinking he's an idiot or anything. He's lived a pretty clean, nice life as far as these people go. All this time, and then all of a sudden you watch that terrible meltdown. And I hope it doesn't cost him so much. I really do. And he eventually got to apologizing, a real apology. And so we'll see what happens. But again, he's in Venus, Sun, Jupiter. And again, he's going to be in Venus, Sun, Saturn, and then Mercury. But the Venus, Sun has been really activating this fourth house, all of this emotional stuff that's going on. I'm probably going to do a deeper case study in this because it requires more, more of an examination. But you could see Venus, Sun, and especially as it's activating this fourth house of this Mars, Jupiter. Of course, Mars is the 7th house ruler and Jupiter is the 8th house ruler. You always hear me say over and over again, the functional nature of the planets always the most important thing. And Jupiter is the 8th lord. So he giveth and he taketh away. He rules that Raja Yoga or that power. Actually, it's not Raja Yoga, but that powerful Mars there in the 4th, and also Jupiter, the 8th lord, right? Mm-hmm. With Jada, she just started Jupiter Dasha a couple years ago, and I looked at the dates. All of the stuff about the red tables that came out talking about the affair and all of those private disclosures have started since Jupiter Dasha started at that time. And she's still in Jupiter. She's about to go in Jupiter Saturn. And, she's really stepping into her own individuality right now a lot more. And Saturn rules her ascendant and that Jupiter because it rules Anuradha. And also that Rahu Mars is ruled by Saturn, that Rahu Mars in her 3rd house. So Jada is in for a huge moment of individuality that's coming up. And her Jupiter Saturn Dasha is a long cycle. It's till the end of 2024, starting in June. So I wouldn't be surprised if they separate. And by the way, it might be time to do it because these fixed signs stay in it for a long time. Their kids are in their 20s now. Maybe the ride or die to bad relationship to the end of our life is not looking so good right now. Maybe they need some time away. Malini, anything you'd like to say? Maybe you disagree. I don't know. We haven't talked about this, but anything you'd like to say about the timing or anything like this?
I think first of all, it's very striking that the functional nature of planets, and that's why it's really important to remember rulerships. So with Will Smith's chart, he's in Venus Sun and Venus Sun Jupiter. So Jupiter is his 8th and 11th lord. And for Venus ruled signs, Libra and Taurus, Jupiter is a functional malefic. So it's you have to always remember the functional nature of the planets for each ascendant, and this is a really good case study in that. Again, Venus Sun are also a little opposite in nature. So whereas Venus wants the relationship to keep going, Sun is our purest, uh, highest, purest self. So it's also uh, asking him to it's urging him to look at the light, right? What is right here, or what's the most dharmic thing. Sun is the purest. It's where the light enters our soul. And then by transits, he's having right now. I know Sam talked about at the beginning of this, the Rahu Ketu shift, right? And please sign up for that free webinar that Sam has. He's going to have Rahu go over his Saturn and Ketu go over all those planets in his sixth house. So it's not going to feel good to him. So just based on his chart, yes,
Right
there.
now, especially K2 is right over that moon. Sorry to interrupt, but K2 is right over the moon. So I didn't even say anything about the transits. I was doing the dashas. I wanted to finish up and give you a chance. But yeah, K2 is especially right over the moon right now.
Yeah. So you can see the strain and that deep examination that he needs to do. And also when she is in her Jupiter Saturn, he is in his Venus Sun Saturn. Again, Saturn is his ninth and 10th lord, so he's constantly being probed to what's the most dharmic path here, right? What's his highest dharma? How does he align with it? And honestly, if the relationship does not align, then when your dharma planets get activated, relationships will fall away. So just based on his chart, you can see that. Similarly for her, like Mars is a dharma planet. It rules herself. It rules the first house. It also rules the sixth house, so shows the hard work. And then Jupiter is a dharma planet for her. It rules the second and the fifth house. So it's so fifth ruler angles any planets that rule 1, 5, and 9 houses. They become the dharma planet. So every time they get activated, it really pushes you to look at what's in the highest interest, right? What's most aligned with their highest spiritual path. And so it's quite possible, because she's ruled by Mars, that yeah, I think it's quite possible they separate again
The other
because
thing I didn't even say, just real quick, I'm sorry, is also her Saturn is in the seventh house. It's so obvious I forgot to say it, but Jupiter, Saturn, her Saturn is in the seventh house as well. And obviously, Saturn in the seventh house also shows that people want, when that gets activated, might want some healthy time and some healthy independence. By the way, we just saw it because Rahu just went through that seventh house. And this is when a lot of the recent disclosures about, I saw it's very cringeworthy to watch, talking about their sex life and stuff. It was very honorable. And it was talking about how she's matured about those things over the years, where when she was younger, she would say things like, oh, if you love me, you would already read my mind and all. So she was talking about how to be more mature about these things. But again, it's still just cringy, especially for someone who's got all those plans. For Will Smith, who's like this Taurus, Libra, like, let's all be, and all that stuff. He's like, stop talking about our personal life.
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so Ketu going in her 12th and Rahu going in her 6th, again, tackling health problems. She's dealing with alopecia and all of that, but also battles and conflicts in the relationship. She'll probably want to look at it. Um, Honestly, because there's really fixed signs, and I think both of them are very introspective in many, many ways, then they've gotten credit for. I think even if they separate, they'll grow from it and they'll come back as friends or would want to stay together because they are both driven by creating legacy. That's
Yeah,
what.
and so I have a feeling, yeah. And so here's the thing, just in a personal sense, it's amazing they've been together that long, being these famous, well-known celebrities that are attractive, good looking. And one of the things, just through experience, often relationships break when they don't need them to raise the children anymore and stuff like this. They have adult children now. I think what's going to happen is the dual pressure. And by the way, again, I don't say this in a nasty sense, but just this whole celebrity culture, living our life as public, in the public, and as an example of things. And again, these icons, I think they're gonna this has really blown that up. And Will Smith's meltdown has brought embarrassment, to say the least, on that whole kind of family unit. I hope at least that both of them, Jada as well, or both of them, kind of pull away and become internal. I hope there's not a red table talk next week about Will's blow up, or I don't know, whatever it might be. I mean, we're laughing, but God, who knows? I don't know. But hopefully this will be a time where there's learning and healing around this, and it should be this. But again, she's about to go into Jupiter. She's in Jupiter. So again, I just want to highlight that she was in Rahu for years before that, 18 years before. She just started Jupiter in again, the end of 2020, the end of April 2020. This is like right when we started to be locked down on COVID. That's when she went into Jupiter.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing about the other rapper, the August guy, was in like July, I think, of that year. And then it just gets more. Then there's been more of these disclosures since then.
Yeah.
But again, she's just getting into Jupiter Dasha.
Yeah.
So the first, again, this is because I know this from doing readings for 20 years, that first cycle, we're just getting used to it. We're just getting used to the new energy. So she's just getting used to what Jupiter is, which is the second and fifth house lord, which is me communicating my values and the things that inspire me. She's still just getting used to this whole new current of inspiration and purpose. And she's got Jupiter in the first. She wants to be teaching and leading and guiding and inspiring. Mm-hmm. And it's often that second level, when we get to the next level, again, for her, it's Jupiter Saturn, where a big shift happens. It often sometimes doesn't happen in the first one because we're just getting used to it, particularly with the long cycles, like with Venus, with Jupiter, with Saturn. It's that next one. So when I see Jupiter Saturn, particularly because Saturn rules so much, again, it rules her ascendant and Jupiter because they're in Anuradha, and it rules Rahu Mars because they're in Capricorn, and it's in her seventh house already. So this is why I'm like, these are three things that are like very much showing that. So
yeah.
And Malini, anything else? I mean, other things you'd like to say, because I know that you said that you know them as cultural figures and whatnot. I'd love to hear more about that too, or how you see this Synastry and their relationship playing out in those ways, or anything else.
I think both Will Smith and Jada Smith, I think they are very. I'm an outsider to the popular culture here, but they, through their own personal struggles, have been an inspiration to many people who are like them, right?
I agree.
So with Jada Smith, you can see with the Jupiter in the first, like you said, she naturally falls into that teacher role, like the inspiring figure. But through all her struggles, her first lord, even though it's exalted, is also rules her sixth house. So her personal struggles become an inspiration, and it's in her third house. So it's the way she communicates to the world, because it's very personal. And so she experiences life on a very personal level and then brings that out and becomes an inspirational figure. I think that's really remarkable, because things that she has dealt with are not easy. And someone in the chat said that, their whole, that non-monogamous phase was actually leaked out by the rapper. It happened in a Rahu Venus phase where she was not feeling good about herself. Venus is her 7th and 12th lord. There's a feeling of loss. It's also in her 11th house, where it's not doing well. And so she was not feeling well, and she was not, it was hard for her to feel good about herself in a female body. You can just see that. And like that being leaked, and that strain in their relationship being leaked, to take that and not disappear from the face of the planet, but then show up every day and then talk about it. And
Right.
then you when you come to the table and you're like, yes, this was shameful, this was tough, there was a lot of things the media inflicted on them, and let's talk about it and clear the table. And same with Will Smith, even though his especially if you look at his Saturn, his ninth and 10th lord in the 12th, Saturn does not do well again in Aries. Yet it's a lot of Will Smith's. I was looking at his life, and a lot of his successes came in the Saturn Mahadasha, but his highs came with the lows. His highs came with the lows. Like he would gain something big, especially in his late teens, early 20s, a lot of money, but forget to pay taxes, and then everything is taken away from him. But he has learned from it, and he has showed he's not like hidden away. Uh, he, the day and age we live in, celebrities are really like stripped naked in the public, and he's like able to take that heat and address things that are very very difficult, very very personal. He, like all those planets in his fourth and fifth lord, he wants to, in his fourth and fifth house, he wants to be very private, but then his life is so open that that takes a level of courage, and that healthy Mars there um, helps to have that kind of courage. Both of them are very courageous. Both their Mars, her Mars exalted, his Mars in Leo. Again, that's the best place for Mars to be in. One of the best places. They're very very courageous, and I think all the ups and downs they go through in life, whether they stay together or they separate, I think it's pretty commendable to show up um, so bravely in public, talk about it, and take the shame, the name calling, all the labels that people put on them, all the projections they get, just
Yeah.
to and
I
then
appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I didn't know as much of but when I went and looked, I went and watched some of those videos that were famous and whatnot, especially that. And I was surprised at how thoughtful they were in that context, and I was also surprised at how you could see he's like. I think there was a few where he's like, I wasn't going to talk to you again. Like they were talking about earlier in their marriage where he like told her, like broke up and they had a separation. He was like, I wasn't going to talk to you ever again. I wasn't going to be with you anymore and blah, blah.
Mhm.
And like, so you could see where they're, where they're both strong, powerful individuals. And so by the way, even when I say this, predict that Jada will want a separation, I want to be clear. I don't see it as a negative thing. These people have been together long enough to where, like, in fact, Malini even said they can separate, and they're going to separate as friends and as whatnot. They've already done that. It's a idea at this point. Like, is this still not healthy as if it's unhealthy, but is this still the thing that's where I can thrive in my own right? And I'm predicting, like what I say with Jada, she's gone through this new Dasha. Since then, we can see, because you look and see, like, and since her Jupiter Dasha, she has become as famous as Will Smith, actually, in her own right. Before that, she really wasn't. So since Jupiter, you can see that her platform growing, her as a Jupiterian figure growing, but she's still just getting used to it. Jupiter Saturn comes and it rules all those other planets. And I think they'll both decide, but she'll decide. I think she'll be the one that'll be like, have the big shift. That'll be like, okay. Because again, he's still in Venus. He'll be in Venus Sun, Venus Moon. And by the way, frankly, I worry for the brother a little bit. I hope he comes through it. I think he's having a very serious mental, emotional kind of breakdown crisis. That was what happened at that show was scary. Yeah. I mean, it was, I don't want to put a lot of pathologizing terminology on things, but someone just utterly lost control in front of the world. And there was all this entitlement and rage. And like, again, the reason I talked about this thing getting out of control, it's admirable that these people have been public with all this, but it's also a gigantic illusion that you're like bigger than you are. Like you're the king who can get away with something like that. I mean, that's the part that's like, whoa, man, you're like operating on some very strange plane. And then that speech and whatnot. So there's a serious collapse. And by the way, this can be seen by this Ketu now going over the moon.
Yeah.
These are some intense transits, man. For that sixth house and all of that Libra trying to keep everybody happy stuff, that Ketu is now going over that, like, okay, we're course correcting here. And Ketu's going to be hitting these planets for a while. He's already losing movie deals and stuff. I hope for his mental health. And I think they'll be together, hopefully, to keep all that together. But it's a serious time for him.
Yeah, definitely the mental health. I did see that with, and then he's going towards the end of the year. He's going into Venus Moon, and then Ketu hitting that moon. It's reliving those past traumas and then just reenacting it. Right, moon just reflects it.
It's
Uh,
hitting my moon too. I have the same moon.
yeah, Sam, you're doing really well. You're doing really, really well.
You wait. Any day I'm going to melt. You'll see me on YouTube, and I'll be like, "Keep my guru's name out." Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, and you have much more of a sadhana. I mean, Will Smith also has delved into spirituality and
Yeah.
is a seeker, but this will make him really, really serious. It will really, really force him, that Ketu over the moon and then Venus moon kicking in. If he's not serious about his spiritual sadhana, this is, and he probably will, because Rahu is going to go in his 12th house and he's going to try every single thing, I guess.
Well, the thing that's going to also make him serious here, he's in Venus Sun. And I
Mhm.
think what's going to happen is they're both going to realize, because honestly, again, I don't, and it's not to speak badly of people, but like their kids, how is this affecting their kids? Like the son sent out that tweet afterwards, like, this is how we handle things, after he smacked him. And like, this has got to be, at some point, they'll be like, on what's going on with our, like how our kids are reacting. And again, just bringing this literally like disgrace to the family. Before, I mean, they went there like the sort of kings of Hollywood, really, on some level, so much thinking they're so much kings that you can get away with something like that and then still get a standing ovation. And I knew after it happened, this is only going to get worse. People were defending it a little bit afterwards, like, well, Chris Rock shouldn't have said that or whatever. I'm like, no, the further we get away from this, the worse this is going to look. These got to own up to this 100%. There was nothing right about that. And so that break, that reality getting away from someone is what I saw. It's like reality has gotten away from this brother. And when that happens, that's always some scary stuff. And I think maybe the reflection of the kids coming back will make them say, like, okay, maybe we need a break, or we need to get away, or something needs to happen here. And they'll take a break that they probably need, I think. I think they've lived, again, this is a case study in a very powerful, successful relationship where these two people have built a life. Look at how much they've accomplished in partnership with each other. Not just kids, but built these powerful relationships with each other.
Yeah.
And in the world, because again, you can't succeed like that with a relationship that's not supportive. I'm sure they've been that kind of ride or die thing. I think it's real. But things do run their course. And particularly, this is what I do when I look in at people's relationships. I look and see, has one partner really gone through a major shift? That's one of the things where I look and see if it's going to break. Like, has one of them just gone through a major Dasha shift? And that's what I see here. One of them just did. They went through a major Dasha shift. Yeah. So that's why I think, and it shows like she's shifting here. So this has been great, Malini. Any final thoughts you want to add? And feel free to speak at length, but I don't like these to go much further than an hour.
Yeah. I just read a comment, and somebody said, like, about defending your wife versus whatever. But if you just really look at this chart, and if you know the concept of dashas and you know the concept of transits, it looked like, and I don't want to get into the details of it, but it looked like Will Smith was reliving a trauma, a childhood stuff. Ketu in the 6th house. It's a very, Ketu, like Sam teaches, is childhood stuff, right? It's all the repository of our lifetimes given to us in childhood. And then moon, if you know the principles of astrology, relates to mother. So it's like reliving that childhood trauma. The incident does not matter. The players in the incident does not matter, but it looks like that's what happened there. And so when Sam made that comment of like the mental health, yeah, it is really important for Will Smith, because Ketu is not just going to go over his moon, which is doing right now, but also his ascendant lord. So it's like he'll have to really dig deep in. And when Venus moon gets activated, moon also rules Ketu in his 5th house. it rules a nakshatra of Hasta. So it will activate that Ketu. And there's a lot of, going back and healing stuff from the past that he has not healed completely up until now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, well, Molly, this has been great. I really appreciate you showing up and doing this. Oops. 1 second. I'll get rid of that. Okay. Anyway, so let's just leave it at that, and we'll and again, I appreciate you showing up for this, Malini, and I hope everyone enjoyed this case study. And any final thoughts, Malini? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for doing this.